Welcome to the Success with Jewelry podcast, where we invite you inside our conversations about business success and marketing for jewelry designers and entrepreneurs.
We're Larissa and Liz, jewelry marketing experts with a combined 16 years of experience in jewelry marketing and proven track records in helping jewelry brands meet their goals. When you listen to or watch this podcast, you get an intimate and exclusive peek behind the curtain of all the things you wish you could know about earning success in this industry.
Welcome to episode 120. This week, we're diving into the importance of headshots and visually representing your brand. Your imagery speaks volumes before you even say a word, so how you present yourself matters. In the bonus content, we'll share examples of brands with strong imagery. Hey, Laryssa, let's get into it.
This is such an important topic. I love it.
It's really important. I am going to get new headshots this spring, and I know
good.
you just got new headshots, so
I did.
It's on our minds.
Yeah, it's it's fun, but also kind of challenging, and we'll talk about that today.
Yeah, you worked with your husband, which makes it even more challenging, I think.
Yeah, we could talk more about that. But there was a lot of planning that went into that and a lot of thought, and I can talk more about like what was I thinking about and what were the questions I was asking and all that.
Yeah, let's start with kind of like why. Why?
The why.
The why of it all. Like, why is it important to show your face? And I think that some designers really struggle with this because they kind of want to just make jewelry or just be at their bench or just be designing and want to be very behind the scenes with it. But, especially in jewelry and selling a high-end good, you need to build trust, and someone seeing your face is an important piece of that building trust.
Yeah, especially with AI now. You have to be your real self because people can tell for the most part, not always, when something is like AI or AI rendered versus like, oh, this is a real picture of a person.
And this is especially true if your name is on the door. Like if your brand is your name, then we need to see you.
Yeah. The other day, my mom, because she knows I like jewelry, I guess on her Instagram, she saw some brand come up. And she's like, Laryssa, check this out. They say like they're having a going out of business sale closing tonight. Everything's like 70% off. You should look at it. And I opened the website and it was like trying to be some kind of like homespun handmade jewelry brand. But I think it was just some weird like overseas like Amazon-esque brand that had the picture of the woman whose name was supposed to be Helen. It was like this AI generated like older mature lady, and I was like, what am I looking at right now?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, not only for, building trust and, being clear that you are who you are, uh, it's important to have a headshot for like press opportunities. If you're a trade show or a direct-to-consumer event and you want to be featured by that trade show or direct-to-consumer event or featured in press locally, you need a headshot.
And also on social media, the ones that tend to perform really well are the ones that are pictures of the person. So if you have like a variety of headshots or lifestyle shots or like maker shots, those are great to post every now and again to get some good engagement.
Definitely true. And I think that, like you could go really formal and polished with your headshot, but I also love headshots, especially if you're a maker of like in your studio working. If that's how you feel more comfortable showing up for your audience, I love that.
Yeah, have a variety. That's what I did too, so I could talk about that more.
Yeah, tell us more about your experience.
So I did headshots in November, and my husband was the photographer. But there was probably like a month and a half of planning leading up to that, where I made like a vision board on Pinterest, looking at other headshot examples. And also, I did the exercise of thinking through my target audience, segmenting them out, because I actually speak to different target audiences. And how can I visually portray myself in a way I think would resonate or feel like right for each segment of my target audience. So I almost had to reflect like these different facets of myself through the pictures, which is very hard to do. Because it comes down to like the look, like what outfit am I wearing? Am I a little more buttoned up or am I just having fun and it's colorful? And thinking through locations because we went around like our city and I had to think, oh, that might be a good place for like this kind of look or this kind of look and like pre-imagine everything I wanted to get out of it, as well as where am I going to be using these pictures? Because it's not just on social media, it's going to be on my website, LinkedIn, press opportunities, other places. So you need like different formats, different like croppings and stuff like that. So I literally had to plan all this out in a master document and make sure the day of we have a limited amount of time, like we have to hit all these notes.
Thinking through all of that is the most important thing about headshots.
Yeah. You
You
can't
know,
just like fly into it and expect it to like work out well.
That's so true, especially what you mentioned about understanding where you're going to actually use those
Yep.
photos so that you have the different shapes that you need, like portrait,
Hmm.
landscape, and all of that. I think that's super important. But also, what you said about choosing how you want to show up, like how you want to present yourself, is
Hmm.
something I'm struggling with, which is why I've put off headshots for so long. My last headshots were in 2019 and they were a little bit more casual. I wore a jean jacket. I had my hair done and did a bunch of makeup. For these new headshots, I'm thinking more so like a little bit more less like hair and makeup and a little bit more buttoned up with what I wear because I've obviously aged since then. And
Ah,
I mean, not a huge amount, but I've aged since then. And I just want these to like last another 5 years. So I'm just kind of
yes.
thinking that way. And also, my previous headshots were out in the city of Asheville. These new headshots are going to be in a studio, which will
Hmm.
be different. And it's a different photographer who is local and great. And I'm excited to work with her. But we're going to do, a questionnaire, a mood board, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
We do it.
And all of that subtly has a different vibe, even the inside outside choice. Like that's not an arbitrary choice. It's all of that is communicating something in the picture.
What I'm communicating, I'm not sure. No, I am sure.
Well,
I know
no,
what
that
I'm
just
trying to.
sounds very polished, like
Mhm.
having in a studio.
More polished, definitely still approachable. I think that that's a
Mhm.
big thing for me, but I do want to just like grow my brand up a little bit.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So
The outfits are the hardest part, though.
I know you did a great job though. And I love that you got new headshots and you're actually using them quite frequently.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes, like, even with like, sometimes I talk to designers who like just did a great styled photo shoot for their jewelry, even, and they're like, oh, I haven't used those photos yet. You should always, any photo shoot you do, have a plan and go in with, like, okay, well, I'm going to do this photo shoot. I'm expecting the photos back on this date. Here's how I'm going to roll it out.
I think that's very important. It did take someone I have on my team who helps me with social to see those pictures and kind of imagine the ways they could be used because I'm so close to them. Like, I think they came out great, but sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, pictures of me, whatever. And I think like when it's you, it's hard to like move forward with that plan.
It is hard. I still like I liked my old headshots, but I still like when I look at them, I cringe a little bit, because it's a picture of me. It's weird to
Yeah,
use yourself.
exactly. You're like looking at yourself, you're like, okay, I mean, the picture is good, but like, what am I going to do with this? And but now I have like 50 pictures. I better find a way to use them.
Right. And 50 is a lot. That's an incredible amount of headshots to have.
Yeah. Well, I think the difference too, and we can maybe talk about this. So there's like headshot, which I think is the more traditional, like, this is me in the press. This is like the picture I'm using to represent everything. And for me, I kind of wanted more of like just content because I am so much my brand. And I felt like I needed pictures that aren't just like the quote unquote headshot, if that makes sense.
Right. And you did some like where you're at your laptop and
Yeah.
you're doing different things.
A lady about town.
I'll probably do one with my favorite coffee mug,
Yeah.
things
It's
like
good to
that.
have options.
Yeah, I'm actually often jealous of designers and makers because you can design and make and like be in the zone of doing that kind of
Yes.
stuff in your photography and it's so engaging and I love to see it. Whereas like Larissa and I, we have to like be on our laptop.
I know. I'm like, what am I going to show myself doing? Like, I'm sitting here on my laptop drinking a coffee.
One of our longer term goals, just because I don't, well, maybe it is in August. Get a photo like with our microphones together, you know.
Yes. Let's do it.
Let's do it
We
because it
need a
is, yeah,
photographer, though.
we need a photographer. We need a photographer. We'll think about it. We have to figure
Because
that
I
out.
feel all the times we've been together, it's just like a selfie like this, and that never comes out that great.
Never comes out that great. And it's always, we always take it at like the end of the day. And I feel like we should take it like first thing in the
When
morning
we're fresh.
when we're fresh. Because I like feel like the last few times I'm like, oh gosh, I'm so tired. I do not want a photo. Um, so yeah, let's definitely do that. Because having a photo of us together would be
It
good
would be good for our content.
for our content too.
Or they have these things now that are like headshot generators for like LinkedIn.
No.
We just take pictures of both our faces and have it put us together in like a podcast setting.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I guess we could do that. No, I don't want to do that.
We want to make it feel more authentic.
Yeah, because that's who we are. We're authentic. Which, by
Mhm.
the way, I listened back to our episode about emails in 2025, and I normally don't listen fully back to episodes, but I was listening for clips to pull for Instagram, and I said like and so many times in that episode, and I hope people notice I'm consciously trying to not do that today. I don't know.
I don't know if I even noticed that, but maybe because it's you and you're listening to yourself.
It was me. I was listening to myself and I was like, how can I stop doing that? And I don't think I do it every episode. I don't. And
Mm.
so that's off topic, but something that's truly on my mind.
Yeah, well, Liz will work on that. I haven't noticed you saying that at all this episode, so I think you're
Yes.
doing a good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So talk a little bit about how you and Jordan aligned on like how did you go about choosing the color palette and mood? And then how did you communicate that to him?
Yes, I think it did help to have like a Pinterest board. Um, and I know not everyone would have the luxury of this because they're probably just hiring a photographer. Thankfully, my husband knows me, obviously. I think he knows like my vibe and like the colors I usually wear and the way I like to present myself. And so that helped a lot. And I think it also helped. And if you're able to do this with a photographer, I think this is a good tip. I'm comfortable with him. Otherwise, like I might be a little self-conscious with like a photographer. I don't know. So it helped me almost be a little bit silly and like play a little bit with more like poses and movements and expressions that maybe I would have held back a little bit with someone I didn't know as well. So it does help to have like a comfortable relationship with the photographer.
Yeah, I think that's something to check when you're talking to a photographer. It's like, do I feel comfortable? Are they asking me the right questions? What is their process planning and leading up to the photo shoot? Because I would say if they aren't doing a mood board or doing a questionnaire or trying to get to know you or understand what your goals are, I would say that's maybe a red flag.
Mm-hmm. And I also shared with him all like the documents I made because even though I know my target audience, I almost kind of like rewrote that in the context of doing photos. So like, how does that apply to the photos? And for me, I have this side of my brand that's like more casual and approachable and like this podcast hosty person. But then there's also a side of me that's like the corporate lady who does work with like bigger brands, like bigger business leaders and stuff. And the casual Laryssa, it doesn't necessarily like connect with that person. So I have to have these like two facets of myself at the same time, not making them feel like they're two different people or something. You know what I mean?
I think you did a nice job with that because, like, for example, like the photo where you're wearing your blazer, it's like a hot pink blazer. It's like your
Yeah.
colors. It's still very you, even though it is leaning towards more the professional corporate side of you.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think like the poses and locations help too. Like I have one picture I posted on Instagram where I'm in like a boba shop and it's like really colorful and like poppy behind me. And then there's stuff where I'm more like in the city and there's like generic like city things behind me, you know? So though even just that shift creates a different vibe.
What would you say, because your husband is a professional photographer, have you ever, my first headshot ever for my own business was a DIY photo, and I think it was pretty good.
Mhm.
But should people invest in hiring a professional?
Versus, so you took that picture yourself, like or someone
Not
else
the
took
one
it?
I'm using now, but my first headshot for my business was one I took myself.
Wow, that's impressive. I don't trust myself to take a good picture of myself. I think if you have some kind of skill with photography and you understand like lighting and posing and all that, you could probably do an okay job. But I think 75% of the success of what makes a good picture is getting the light right, because it'll make your face look all different if it's not correct, you know?
Yeah, I think that, and my last headshots lasted for 5 years. And that's like, even if you're paying, $1,000, $1,500, like that's a good investment. You're going to use that a lot. That's going to pay off. So I'd say it's
Yeah.
something to really think about investing in, working with a professional.
They do last a long time, especially if you make them feel more like classic, I guess, and you have a lot of different looks or even outfits, like a few different looks just to mix it up. That way you don't just have like one picture that you're using for like 5 years.
Okay, can you talk through all the different places that you've used your headshot,
Yeah.
your new photos?
So I think maybe I'm a little different because I do post a lot of content, but like YouTube thumbnails, Instagram, LinkedIn, my website, press. Um, if I do like trade shows or like speaking, it would be used for that. Also for my platform Joy Deck, like a lot of the graphics have my face somehow incorporated into them. And it's funny, like I was saying before, I don't know if I would have chosen to do that because it's me and I don't like think to like put my face on everything. But I think the way that I plan those pictures and the color palettes and everything, they also very much vibe with my brand palette. So they kind of seamlessly work visually with the whole visual package, and almost like blend into the colors and everything, which I sort of did intentionally, but also I think I just like all those colors. So it worked out.
Yeah, you have a clear aesthetic with like color story. And where was I going to go with this?
But
Anyway,
that's a good thing to think about for jewelry brands. Like, I'm assuming that your brand colors, you like them. Can you sort of like embody or complement that with your look so that if you are like using it on your website, for example, it kind of harmoniously works with the whole package?
yeah, so headshots and like how you show up in that way should align with the way you visually present your jewelry too. And we're really just talking about headshots here. But I think that, you know, getting really clear on how you want your jewelry presented as well and being very consistent in that is a good
Mhm.
thing too, and making sure those two things align.
I might be like imagining this, but isn't there someone who was in the New York, the curated, who like wears gold stuff a lot? Am I imagining this?
No, you're not imagining that. That's Susan from Sunlit. She really thought through, and we really I encourage anybody doing a trunk show or a pop-up or a trade show or a direct-to-consumer event to think about what you're wearing in terms of like your brand, like how you're showing up. And she had this beautiful golden cape, and her jewelry Sunlit is like, obviously very gold and like reflective and inspired by the sun and really textured, and she had this like golden coat, and I was like, this alignment is beautiful. Like I just love that she
Yeah.
dressed her brand for this trade show where she was presenting her brand.
Those details,
They
the
matter.
details, they're so important. And when they're done right, I feel like people notice it, but not like consciously. It kind of just feels like harmonious when you take it all in.
That's so true. Like thinking forward to my new shoot, like I really see what was wrong with my previous one, what worked. It was fine for then.
What was wrong?
No, like in these small details that you're talking
Okay.
about. Just
Mhm.
from, you know, I was wearing like very like fast fashion clothes.
Mhm.
I was wearing more makeup than I ever wear. I just like there was a few things that felt like very not me, but
Mhm.
that's who I was then, right? So it's kind
Yeah.
of like I need to like evolve to who I am now. So I'm like going to wear like more like eco-conscious clothes, like that are like more small batch. And then
Yeah.
like I said, like less makeup, kind of more, looking direct at camera, approachable, polished, but not overdone, I guess.
Yeah. I like that. And where are you, do you have specific plans about where you want to be using your pictures? Have you thought through that part already?
I haven't. I'm very nervous. Because I don't love photos of myself. And I think a lot of people feel like they're in that boat. And that's another reason why I've put it off for so long, because I've also like had a kid and had baby weight and
Mhm.
lost baby weight. And like, I obviously that's like a really vulnerable thing to say on this podcast, but it's like I kind of
Oh, that's so
finally,
real.
it's so real. I'm finally starting to feel like myself again, even though it's been
Yeah.
years. My kid's about to be 4. But it took me a long time to feel like, oh, I feel kind of like enough of myself again to pursue this. But
Yeah.
so I'm nervous about how they're going to turn out, just like, or how I'm going to feel about them, or like, all of that. But I definitely need to update. I use my old headshots a lot on my website, and I think those need to be refreshed. I did a logo refresh last year, and it's a little bit more like the color that we're using is a little bit more muted. So I think that thinking about those colors with like the clothing choices and the backdrop choices and stuff like that will be important, just to kind of like tone down my website a little bit. I don't know what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say here, but kind of make it more muted and make it more focused on the content and less of like, hey, I'm Liz Kantner, you know?
Yeah. It makes sense. Well, it sounds like you have a good plan. Let me ask you this because actually, even more so than clothing, I agonized over the jewelry I was wearing
I know
because I'm like, people are going to judge that. They're going to judge me.
that's a big one. I thought I've been thinking about that. I Part of me wants to like wear like very fun earrings and like switch them up throughout, but I think what makes the most sense is to wear the actual daily jewels that I usually wear, which is
Mhm.
pretty straightforward and hasn't changed much, especially in the past couple of years. So I think I might just do that and keep it simple. I think that that's what I did in my previous headshots too, is like these are the pieces I really wear the most, and I think I will do that again.
I like that. Yeah, that was actually one area where Jordan and I had some disagreement because he was encouraging me to wear something that really stood out, that was like very statement. And that's not me normally. Like I have pieces that I like. So I kind of just picked pieces that I like and wear semi regularly, but maybe they're like a step up from like my everyday jewels. That's kind of how I went with it.
Yeah, that might I think I'll wear like trade show Liz jewelry versus like everyday
Yes.
jewelry.
Trade show, Laryssa. That's kind of what it was. Yeah.
By the way, I saw the video you posted, I don't know, whenever. I saw it this morning, but those gold hoops, and I think I've commented on them before, but the gold hoops you have are amazing. I need a gold pair of hoops like that.
They're not even solid gold.
Oh, really? Are they hollow?
No, so they have, and actually I've been trying to find more jewelry like this because I think it's brilliant. They have like a resin core, I think, that makes them feel like really solid and durable, and they're not gonna like, get dings on them, but they are plated over that. So they're like very substantial and they feel good, but they're not like solid gold throughout.
Interesting.
I think I got it from like JTV or something. Like one of those websites.
Classic.
Yeah, but yeah, those are some good ones. There should be more jewelry with like I even Googled this. I was like, this is a good idea and kind of a good cost-effective way to get like a chunky look without it like damaging this like resin core. We're going way off topic.
We're way off topic. I think I'm gonna wrap it up. Everyone. Is getting a new headshot on your to-do list? Let us know. Visit successwithjewelry.com. And if you love the podcast, we'd love to hear from you. Send us a message or leave us a review. Thanks for being a part of the Success with Jewelry community.
Thank you.